It's time to delve deep into the dark world. Coming up next.
Live from the YK Studios in Adelaide, Australia, it's the Pop Culture Spread.
That is awesome!
The world is in danger.
That doesn't seem right.
I need your help.
When do we start?
On November 8th,
You think you can stop me?
We have to try.
Witness the return of an Avenger.
Hitting doesn't solve everything, brother.
Is that right? Anyone else?
Thor, The Dark World in 3D and Real D November 8th.
Hey guys, we're back once again. It's Jace, it's Rick.
Hey, young guys.
And we're talking another entry into our Marvel Retrospective series. And mate, today we're talking Thor, the Dark World. Now normally, Rick, you'd be able to tell what movie we're going to be reviewing today because we'd have an amazing piece of merchandise. But alas again, we've just got old stuffy mixed stuff like Thor here.
Yeah, little Thor, buddy.
So yeah, sorry to disappoint, guys.
Sorry, guys. That's it.
But that's the best of what we got. So, but no, we're here to talk about the 2013 release, the sequel to Thor. Certainly, this is they've decided to go to a different pathway yet again with this character, make it a bit more personal, a la like they did with Iron Man 3, but probably more on a grander scale. What were your memories of coming up to see Thor the Dark World, which was a November release? If I
November, yeah. So, look, coming off this, or when we're coming into it, I'm thinking, okay, hopefully they can get this right, this Thor movie. I was expecting something a little bit better than the first Thor movie. Cause
well, I certainly
wanted
was.
to be up there.
I certainly was because initially Patty Jenkins, the director of Wonder Woman, was aligned to make this film, and she pulled out for creative differences. In other words, she wanted to make a good movie by the sounds of it, and she was replaced by Alan Taylor, who was the director of a lot of the Game of Thrones episodes. And I remember reading a lot of the promo material before it, Rick, and he was saying he was going to bring a lot more of Norse mythology into the movie and make it a bit more grandiose. Whether he pulled that off or not, that's a different story. But yeah. So walking into the film, I would say I was kind of had high expectations too.
Definitely.
I certainly did enjoy Iron Man 3 and thought, well, okay, the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 2 is up and running, and here we go with Thor. But you know what? Let's start talking about the synopsis. Right. It's in ancient times, the god of Asgard fought and won a war against an evil race known as the Dark Elves. The survivors were neutralized, and their ultimate weapon, the Ether, was buried in a secret location. Hundreds of years later, Jane Foster finds the Ether and becomes its host, forcing Thor to bring her to Asgard before the Dark Elf Malekith captures her and uses her as a weapon to destroy the 9 realms, including Earth. Wow, there you go. Now, in this sequel to Thor, Chris Hemsworth is back.
Is Thor.
Playing the titular character of Thor. Natalie Portman returns as Jane Foster. Tom Hiddleston, again, is back as Loki for his 3rd outing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Stellan Skarsgård makes another appearance as Dr. Eric Selvig. Idris Elba is back, and with a little bit more to do this time as Hemmendale. Christopher Eccleston plays the big baddie, Malekith, not that you could tell with all that makeup. Kat Dennings returns as Darcy. Ray Stevenson, the good old Punisher from Warzone, he's back again as Volstagg. Jamie Alexander as Sif, and Rene Russo as Frigga. So, a lot of the cast is back. Not really, except for Christopher Eccleston, there's not a lot of new additions to the cast this time around. And certainly, as I stated, Patty Jenkins left the film, and they brought Alan Taylor on to do this film. And I do know this production had some issues along the way. They did really have some problems. A lot of reshoots happened, apparently. Natalie Portman, in fact, was so upset that Patty Jenkins wasn't going to do this film. She didn't want to come back. She said, "No, I'm not doing the film."
What was it about? What was she upset about?
Well, because she thought that Patty Jenkins was the right fit. Apparently, Patty Jenkins had sold the concept of a sequel to Thor like a Romeo and Juliet love story. And Marvel went, I know what you're trying to get at, but that's not what we need right now in our cinematic universe. So she refused to turn to the sequel. She wasn't coming back. And they had to threaten to sue her to get her back.
They should just...
Which, yeah, absolutely.
In my opinion, they should just got rid of Natalie Portman. I think she's just a waste of a character.
Look, honestly, I mean, really want to let the cat out of the bag. She is woeful in these films.
Just terrible.
I mean, you know, you've heard the term phoning it in. Holy shit, she's doing it for the whole 2 hours in this film.
Bad.
Even to the point, and you know the post-credit scenes of Thor, I know I'm jumping a lot forward here, where they actually reconnect for the first time and he gets to kiss her again.
Right
there in the film.
Yeah.
On that rooftop. That's not even Natalie Portman.
No, who was it?
She didn't
Well,
come back
CGI'd
for that
her.
scene. No, it's his wife. It's real life wife.
Ah.
Because it was the back of her. You couldn't with that scene when they come in and kiss. So Chris Hemsworth got to make out with the missus on camera.
She's Natalie's just... Yeah.
So and you can tell because the best connection in the film is that kiss, and it's with his actual wife and not Natalie Portman.
Yeah, but you're right though. There was no connection. There's no between the two, as there was just nothing there. It was really, really bad. It was just like she was just showing up. Yeah, here I am. Here's my lines. That's what I'm doing. I'm out. See you later. She just didn't deliver anything for me. Did nothing for me at all.
This film, to me, it really promises to at several times in the film. It promises to really kick into gear and be something. But this film runs flat, mate. It really runs
all the way
flat.
through.
I don't really care what is happening here. I really don't. You know, I know that because Natalie Portman as a character, didn't even connect to in the first Thor film. When she gets taken over by the ether,
you like her?
I don't really care that she's taken over by the ether. You know, and the villains, the dark elves. I don't know what happened there. In concept, sounds right. But it just wasn't pulled off very well. Maybe it was the fact that they had their own language, which I know that they did develop an own dark elf language for the film. But maybe it would have been better that it wasn't all in subtitles a lot of the time. And it just, look, honestly, I really struggled to connect with this movie, Rick.
They were, like you said, they're very weak. I reckon the villains were very weak. There was no substance to those villains. And And I didn't even like the look of them, to be honest with you. I didn't like the look of what they were trying
Lord
to
of the
achieve.
Rings.
Yeah, that's what popped into mind. I'm like, we needed to go in a different direction. But yeah, it just lost me there. I just wasn't into those villains. They didn't get me.
No. And certainly they tried to freshen it up by shifting the Earth location to London, which is a nice touch. I didn't mind that.
It's always London or some other place.
But I didn't mind that was in London at all. And certainly there's some of the shining lights of the film. Kat Dennings provides that comic relief that we needed her to. Certainly some of the battle scenes and the action scenes are fantastic. The scenes between Loki and Thor are great as always. And certainly their chemistry is always really, really good. But, you know, there are some certain situations in the film that you really should have paid off big and didn't. A la the death of Thor's mother.
Yep.
Should have been... And they did have a big funeral scene in the movie and all that type of thing. But there was no emotional connection to me to that. I didn't care that she was dead. Because she didn't really play that big enough character in the first film for me to have invested in emotionally. Let alone when she dies, it's a plot device to move the movie forward. And it's so evident in that, you know. And a good film will make situations like that happen that do drive the plot forward, but you're not aware of it because you're invested in the moment. And we are not invested in the moment. Well, sorry, I shouldn't speak for you, mate. I am certainly not invested in these moments as they go along. You know, the concept about the 9 realms all lining up, and then that's how the dark elf can release the ether and destroy the universe. Oh, I'm bored.
Yeah.
I'm bored. Now, if I remember, Rick, you said something before the show, which I would like to bring up to the audience. The first time you actually saw this, you were struggling to stay awake. Is that true? Yeah,
so we, as you all know, me and Jas, we go see all these movies together. Now, we actually went and saw this at Gold Class. Now, for those who aren't familiar, Gold Class is, you know...
Holy shit, Rick, we did.
And they're like recliner, big leather seats. You go back, they bring out food and drinks and so forth. Mate, I halfway through I was thinking, I could go to sleep and I could just don't bother about seeing the rest of this movie because I just didn't find it. I wasn't super pumped going into it. I had high expectations going into it, going, this has got to be better than the other one.
Yeah.
But it just let me down halfway through, and I'm like, this is just not happening for me. I didn't feel
my
it.
concern for this film, is this a film that is supposed to, is it really a film about Thor, or is it really a connected bit of tissue to get Thor from the Avengers to the sequel of the Avengers? And that's what the film feels like to me. It's just like, it's almost like a side note, you know what I mean? Oh, and in between Avengers films, Thor did this. And that's how it feels to me, you know? I'm not going to go on and on about this film today, Rick. I honestly not. I mean, I could sit here for 3 hours and pick apart this film.
Don't get us wrong. It's not a bad film. Like it's not by far. There are worse films out there.
We're judging this film in relation to the other Marvel films.
Yeah, exactly.
And in relation to the other Marvel Cinematic Universe films.
Yeah.
This is clearly the worst one in my eyes so far.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm giving it such harsh criticism. And Rick, what you're touching on is there's such the high bar point that Marvel put on their films, and when they don't reach to those expectations, we do feel disappointed. And I really do feel disappointed in this film. Not enough for me to go, well, I'm not watching these films again, but thinking there was a big missed opportunity. Yeah. So look, overall, Rick, I'm not mucking around today, mate. Unless you have anything more to add, I'm going to give away my score.
Yeah, no, go for it, mate. What's your...
Well, look, my score is a really low one. This is a 4.5 out of 10.
Oh!
And honestly, mate, that is in relation to comparison of the other films. It is, by far, the weakest entry into the series.
Yeah.
What about you, Rick?
For me, like I said, it's, don't get me wrong, it's a film that it's in, like... you can watch and further down the track and whatever. But like you said, for me, I was just very, very disappointed in it. Nothing. I didn't really gel with some of the characters. They didn't really get me, and I just, like I said, for me to fall asleep halfway through a Marvel movie, then obviously there's got to be an issue. And for me, I'm gonna actually do it, and I'm gonna go a 5. For me. Go on a 5.
It's just, mate, like...
It's just, yeah.
Even the third act, the big action scene, just doesn't work. I mean, you've got Natalie Portman, basically, she's so disinterested in the film. She's just sitting on there in a little computer device, opening up these portals, All the action's around her. She's not really even involved in it. It's just flat all the way. But Chris Hemsworth... I don't want to diss this guy.
No,
he is Thor.
He is Thor. And he always will be
and
Thor.
Dr. Selvig's fantastic as well.
He just seems to shine in the other movies, except his own standalone movies, which is kind of
Okay, I will leave on a positive though, mate. Even though I gave it 4 out of 5, I will say the greatest scene in this movie happens at the end of the movie, where it's revealed that Loki is actually disguised himself as Odin. So he's actually taken over the throne. So, which I thought was really great, because he is the god of mischief, and he's certainly gotten his own way and now become the leader of Asgard. So I did like that kind of at the end. But that's it, guys. That's what we thought of the film.
That's what
we didn't like it, but you may love it. So talk to us about it. Now, how do they talk to us about it, Rick?
So if you like what you saw, please hit the subscribe button and definitely follow us below. You'll see all our social media sites.
Absolutely.
Follow us there. We've always got the up-to-date information on music news and everything else. So definitely get on top of it, guys.
Fantastic. And we move into next week is Captain America: The Winter Soldier, which I thought we were doing last show.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, we actually do move on to Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And certainly without giving anything away, I was very anxious to see how they could make Captain America relevant in the modern world. But we'll talk about that next time.
In the next episode.
And until next time, remember, guys, I have nothing.
I said you're going to remember it. Yeah, I'll remember it.